Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your Realtor Hugo with another live. As always, it's my pleasure to greet you and invite you to stay tuned for navigating security deposits and lease terms like a pro. As always, feel free and share the live with anyone that you think might like the content and might want to know more about real estate and how it can benefit themselves and those around them. I am Hugo Quintanilla, a licensed realtor in Maryland with Long and Foster. Hi. Great to see you again. I hope you're having a great Thursday. Um, what can I say? So much stuff to talk about. I'm starting to think that we might need to have a whole nother series when it comes to all the different topics that we can cover. So we will talk more about that some other time. But again, I hope you all are having a great day. And let's go ahead and hop into navigating security deposits and lease terms so that you can know a little bit more and get familiar about how security deposits work. What is a security deposit? Think of security deposit as a safety net. It's money you give your landlord when you move in, which they keep in case there's damage to the apartment or you skip rent. Now, don't be fooled. There are a lot of landlords that take advantage of security deposits, and I should also say that not all security deposits are the same as they are here in Maryland. In Maryland, in Montgomery County specifically, you can't ask for more than 2 months security deposit. It's actually prohibited. So there are a lot of people that like to, how do you say, go around that and loophole that by saying first and last month's rent and using other terms for security deposit. No, it all falls under the same. So make sure that you are aware of what the security deposit amount is, how it's going to be kept separate from the rent, and how it's going to be returned to you at the end of your lease term, and what exactly causes you to lose your security deposit, because that's the dreaded nightmare of this whole thing, losing the security deposit. That's what we don't want to do. Why do landlords require it? It's your landlord's way of making sure that you cover any unexpected costs from damages or unpaid rent without having to go into their pockets. Remember, this is 100, 200, 300, maybe $400,000 home or more that these owners are lending you to be there in the property. I know everyone works hard for their money, but you're leasing it at a fraction of the cost that it would be to own it. So a landlord requires a security deposit just in case there's something that either you knowingly or unknowingly did to the property to damage. Now, are there bad actors? Are there people that do take advantage of any reason to take a security deposit? Yes. But there has been more and more legislation towards preventing that than ever before. And we hope that those loopholes and those types of bad actors are removed from the system as soon as possible. And this also depends on us too. These people should be reported, and there are tons of resources that allow for anonymous reporting so that everyone's keeping above board. That's why there are rules, so that everyone plays by them. Number 3. How much is typically asked? In Maryland, landlords can ask up to 2 months' rent as a security deposit. So if your rent is $1,000, you might have to pay up to $2,000 up front. Now, that's outside of how much you're spending on the rent. So again, in this scenario, if the rent was $1,000, your first month's rent would be $1,000. Your security deposit would be $1,000, and your second security deposit, in case you had bad credit, in case there's a potential risky lease, in case there's something, for some reason that I would ask about, honestly, then your other deposit would be 2000, and that's truly it. What are lease terms? Lease terms are the rules you agree to follow while renting the property, like how long you can stay, what you can and can't do, and how much you can pay. That is all outlined. In Maryland, it's about an 11-page document, and depending on what county you're in, it varies on how much more specific it gets than that, and what regulations are in place for that particular county when it comes to leasing. But it's enough to say that, like I said yesterday, there's some things that need to be on it. There needs to be the landlord, there needs to be the tenant, there needs to be how much, for how long, till when, and it needs to be signed by everyone. Okay. Who's going to be responsible for when you need to leave, and what do you need to do then, and what happens if you don't pay? These are all important things to know. But key areas of a typical contract that should be enforceable are all things that you should be looking at when it comes to a lease. Every lease is different, and depending on the situation and how it's listed, it could vary from agency to agency. Number 5, common lease types. The two main types are fixed term, where you agree to rent for a specific period, like 1 year, and month to month, which allows you to leave with short notice. And common leases, again, are common and very simple. You go anywhere from 12 to 24 months. But there are perfectly fine leases that are shorter than that, and there are leases that are longer than that. Again, make sure that you are understanding of what terms and what, how do you say, clauses is the proper word, you're going to be agreeing to, what your responsibilities are, who you are responding to, and make sure that you're aware of all of that, because these are the things that really become the devil in the details, so to speak. They could get you in trouble later on when it comes to getting back your security deposit, or getting in trouble with, well, being evicted. Honestly, that's truly the worst thing that could happen, being kicked out of this lease. It's taken us so much to get there. You build up credit, and to get kicked out of a place is horrible. So you want to do everything possible to avoid that. Number 6, reading the fine print. Always read your lease carefully, like I just said, before signing. Look for any unusual clauses or restrictions, like rules about guests, pets, or decorating. If you're going to decorate, it's always better to ask before you really make a decision on changing anything in the property. It is great that you want to improve the property. You want to make it feel like home. You want to make it feel like your own. I get it, but ask, ask. It's such a pain in the behind to have to go back and redo something just because the landlord is not happy. So I know you spend a lot of money on this place. You should be able to do whatever you want, but ask about that before you move in, ask about that before you apply, ask about all of that, because it can really be limited what the changes you are allowed to make, and you could be penalized if there isn't clear language in the contract that protects you from these changes. So make these requests early on so there aren't any misunderstandings. As always, I tell you, transparency and clarity is key. Number 7, getting your deposit back. To get your full deposit back, leave your apartment in the same condition it was when you moved in, except for normal wear and tear. And even if it says except, I would honestly try and strive to protect as much as possible of the property. Put down carpets, put down protectors, take the moment to cover common areas, and maybe um, put down mats where you need to. I know that I personally am not too messy, so I don't have too much of an issue cleaning up after myself. But I've lived with roommates that are very messy, and it could be very hard on a property. Carpets can soil and they look dingy, they look horrible. So it is on you to maintain the property, and making sure that you get the deposit back is directly proportional to how the property is returned. The last few leases that I've had the pleasure of being a part of, they were properties that were returned in such a great shape. I was so proud of the tenants. It was incredible. I even joked with them. I was like, "Did you guys even live here? This place looks great." So when you have a tenant like that, it's truly, truly a blessing. So yeah, what else can I tell you? Number 8. What if there's a dispute? Here's what to do. If you disagree with charges taken out of your deposit, by the way, all charges taken out of your deposit need to be explained and outlined in writing, because you should be able to hold some sort of receipt for that. Let these reasons really be something of substance. You can't just say, like, oh, a nail in the wall is poking, and that's why I'm going to take your $3,000 deposit. That just is unfeasible. If you disagree with charges taken out of your deposit, you can talk to your landlord or seek help from a local tenants association or legal aid. Montgomery County and Maryland both have resources for landlords and tenants where a mediator can be in place, but it doesn't have to get to that point, really. If the landlord is being upfront about why, and most landlords, despite what popular opinion is, and media makes you think, most landlords are pretty above board, and they are very conscious that people damage properties, and sometimes stuff happens in properties, and sometimes they're very lenient, sometimes they're not. You don't want to be in that gray area of letting yourself open to interpretation. So you want to make the best impression and leave the property in the best condition, and try your best. If after all of that your charges are unreasonable, I think you are fully in your right to look for further assistance from an outside party. And that may have to be the landlord tenant association, or your local jurisdiction's public affairs office, because really that might be a point of contention if you can't work it out. But I would suggest working it out amongst yourselves, preferably in writing, just so everyone has documentation of it. But if that's not possible, as long as you can work it out amongst yourselves, it's preferable, because the process could take anywhere from 45 days to possibly who knows how long, to be honest, because technically the landlord does have up to 45 days to return the security deposit to you in Maryland. So, what tips are there for first time renters? Friendly piece of advice: document the condition of the apartment when you move in with photos or video. This can help you provide later proof of how things looked at the start. It's so funny. I just saw a TikTok too about this, that someone was suggesting people take a newspaper, take a video of the newspaper, and then take video of the place when they moved in as documentation of the property, so that you can send it to the landlord. That's a very great suggestion. I don't know too many people that would think about the newspaper, but I've always done that as part of my career, and part of my lease sort of procedure when it comes to a new tenant. So what I do possibly different is I put everything on a Dropbox or a OneDrive, and I share that link with everyone involved. That way, everyone has the same digital files and digital material with timestamps and documentation of it. It doesn't get too much more thorough than that. But if you don't want too many frills and just want to do a very quick video to cover your own bases, that's a great way and very clever to quickly take a video of a newspaper and take a video of the property to protect yourself from any previous damage to the property that might be thrown on you without you knowing. And again, this is all talking about bad actors that we hope aren't in this city, but we can hope. Number 10, resources for help. Check out Maryland's Department of Housing for guides on tenant rights or consult local legal resources if you need more help. The Landlord Tenant Handbook is phenomenal. It is one of the strongest pieces of public um, information I've seen in my career. It's just easily available, easily accessible. It's in several different languages. There's nothing I can really say that's bad about it. It's pretty easy to make your way through it. And if you have any questions, there's tons of resources there. If you need further specialized assistance, there are legal hotlines on behalf of Maryland that can help you with your problems in any language that you might need. So don't be afraid to reach out for help. Sometimes it does take another set of eyes or maybe some assistance, especially if you don't know or are new to the area. Sometimes a little bit of experience can help make the whole process a little bit easier for you. So I know it's a little scary, especially navigating stuff that you don't know for the first time, but hopefully this is a little bit more information on where this deposit goes, how it should be treated, and why landlords ask you for these security deposits. If you're just joining us today, we were navigating security deposits and lease terms like a pro. The 10 tips were: what is a security deposit? It's basically a safety net for the landlord. Why do landlords require it? Just in case you damage the property or don't pay rent, they don't have to come out of pocket. How much is typically asked? In Maryland, it can be no more than 2 months security deposit. What are lease terms? Lease terms are the rules and regulations that you're abiding by for the property. Common lease types. There are two types: fixed term and month to month. Fixed term is, of course, specific period of time, and month to month, of course, is a little bit more flexible, and obviously month to month. Reading the fine print. Number 6, always read the articles and clauses, because those are the details that you need to know. Getting your deposit back. To get your full deposit back, make sure that you leave the property in the same condition that you received it in. Minimum, if not better. If possible, better. What if there's a dispute? If you disagree on charges, make sure to try to work it out with the landlord as best you can. But if you need to, there are legal resources that you can go to as a part of the county or the state. They can help you out. Tips for first time renters: document the condition of the property as soon as you get in with photographs and video. And make sure to share that with the landlord so everyone's on the same page for the time that you moved in, from that time that you moved in all the way to the time that you leave. And last one for the day is check out Maryland's Department of Housing for guides on tenant rights or consulting legal resources. And my favorite book that Maryland puts out, it's the Landlord Tenant Handbook. That is a great article of resources for anyone as a landlord or a tenant. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to speak with all of you one more time. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Hugo Quintanilla, a licensed realtor in Maryland with Long and Foster, and here to help. My phone number, 240-389-4846. My email, hugo@lnf.com. And my website, yourrealtorhugo.com. It was so nice to see so many familiar faces in DC for the update. I really do hope that we can meet everyone again next year. And yeah, exciting stuff on the horizon. I can already see some changes happening this evening, and it's going to be a whole new world tomorrow. Take care, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.